she stared at the photos on her phone, her mind raced with thoughts of betrayal and anger. How could Amanda do this to me? After all I did for her, I even gave her my kidney, and she betrayed me to this extent. She felt an uncontrollable rage take hold of her. Without thinking, Ruth stormed to her father's room. She opened his drawer and pulled out his old rusty gun. Her mind was clouded with anger and pain as she drove to Peter's house. She dashed inside Peter's house. Once upon a time, there lived two beautiful girls, Ruth and Amanda. They shared an unbreakable bond. From the moment they could walk, their lives intertwined like the roots of an ancient tree. They attended the same schools, sat in the same classes, and dreamt the same dreams. Ruth, one day we will be doctors, Amanda exclaimed, her eyes shining with excitement as they sat under the mango tree in their schoolyard. Ruth nodded vigorously, and we will open a clinic together. No one will ever be sick again if we can help it. Their childhood was a tapestry of shared laughter, whispered secrets, and unwavering support. They excelled academically, always pushing each other to achieve greater heights. As fate would have it, they both received scholarships to study medicine at the University of Lagos. Their friendship grew even stronger during those years. They were inseparable, spending late nights studying and dreaming about the future. Hey guys, welcome to Mercy's Folktales. If you have not subscribed to our channel, now might be the perfect time to hit that subscribe button. And please turn on the notification bell so you won't miss out on any of our amazing stories. Now let's continue. Ruth and Amanda's dreams seemed within reach until Amanda fell ill. It started with fatigue, then dizziness. Amanda lay in her hospital bed, her face pale. The day Amanda was diagnosed with kidney failure, it felt as though the world had come crashing down around Ruth. She could barely breathe as she sat beside Amanda's hospital bed holding her hand. Amanda's voice was weak. Ruth, what if I don't make it? Ruth squeezed her hand tighter, fighting back her tears. Don't say that, Amanda. We are going to get through this together. That night, Ruth cried herself to sleep, her heart breaking at the thought of losing her best friend. The following morning, they had a meeting with Dr. Adewale, a kind and experienced nephrologist, along with both their mothers. Dr. Adewale explained the situation in a calm, steady voice. Amanda's condition is critical. She needs a kidney transfer as soon as possible. Without it, her chances of survival are very slim. Amanda's mother, Mrs. Johnson, looked devastated. Is there any way to find a donor quickly? We can start by testing close family members and friends. Sometimes, the best matches come from those who are emotionally close to the patient. Ruth looked at Amanda, then back at Dr. Adewale. I want to be tested. I will do anything to save her. Amanda's mother turned to Ruth, tears in her eyes. My dear, you don't have to do this. I want to, she said firmly. Amanda is like a sister to me. I can't lose her. The next few days were a blur of tests and waiting. Ruth's mother, Mr. Nwankwo, was by her side constantly, offering support and prayers. Finally, the results came in. Dr. Adewale called them into his office. He smiled as they entered. I have good news. Ruth, you are a match. Amanda's mother let out a sigh of relief, tears streaming down her face. Thank God. Ruth felt a wave of relief wash over her. She turned to Amanda, who was sitting beside her, looking hopeful for the first time in days. We are going to do this, Amanda. We are going to be fine. Amanda nodded, her eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you so much. I don't know how to ever repay you. Ruth smiled, hugging her tightly. Just get better, that's all I need. Preparations for the surgery began immediately. They were admitted in the hospital a few days before the procedure. The night before, they lay in their hospital beds talking quietly. "Ruth, are you scared?" Amanda asked. "A little," Ruth admitted, "but knowing that I'm helping you makes it worth it." Amanda reached over and took Ruth's hands. "You are the best friend anyone could ask for. I love you, Ruth." "I love you too, Amanda," she replied, her voice choked with emotion. The morning of the surgery, their families gathered in the waiting room, holding hands and praying. Dr. Adewale came in to speak to them before taking Ruth and Amanda to the operating room. "The surgery is complex, but we have a skilled team," Dr. Adewale reassured them. "We will do everything we can to ensure it goes smoothly." The surgery was a success. When Ruth woke up, her first thought was of Amanda. She asked the nurse about her friend and was relieved to hear that Amanda was recovering well. A few hours later, they were moved to the same room. Amanda's face lit up when she saw Ruth. "You did it. You saved my life." She smiled with tears in her eyes. "We are a team, Amanda, always." As they recovered together, their bond grew even stronger. The experience had brought them closer than ever, and they were more determined to make the most of their lives. As they graduated and began their medical career, life seemed to return to normal. Ruth met a handsome young man named Peter, whose love for her was evident in every glance and touch. Peter was a handsome young man who had recently returned from the United States, where he completed his medical studies. He exuded confidence and kindness, traits that made him instantly likable. It was during a meeting with the medical team at the hospital that Ruth first met him. Dr. David introduced Peter to the team. "This is Dr. Peter, our newest addition to the hospital staff. He just returned from the States." Ruth extended her hand to him. "Nice to meet you, Dr. Peter. I am Ruth." Peter took her hand, his eyes lightening up. "The pleasure is mine, Ruth." Over the next few weeks, Ruth and Peter found themselves working closely together. They shared the same dreams and aspirations, and Peter was captivated by Ruth's dedication and passion. He was so deeply touched by the bond she shared with Amanda. "The way you care for your patients and the way you stood by Amanda is truly inspiring." Ruth blushed, not used to such direct compliments. "Thank you, sweetheart. It means a lot coming from you." As the days turned into weeks, their bond grew stronger. Peter fell deeply in love with Ruth, and it wasn't long before he decided to make a grand gesture. On Ruth's birthday, he planned a surprise celebration. The night of the party, the room was filled with laughter and joy. Amanda was by Ruth's side, beaming with pride for her friend. As the evening progressed, Peter stood up and asked for everyone's attention. "My love, from the moment I met you, I knew that you were special," Peter began. "You are kind, compassionate, and incredibly strong. I can't imagine my life without you." He got down on one knee and produced a small, elegant box. "Ruth, will you marry me?" The room erupted in cheers as Ruth, tears streaming down her face, nodded vigorously. "Yes, Peter, yes, I will marry you." Peter's family welcomed her with open arms. She met his parents, who were warm and loving, and his friends, who spoke highly of him. During a video call, she even met Peter's twin brother, Paul, who was still in the States. "I'm so happy for you and my brother," Paul said, smiling through the screen. "I wish I could be there for the wedding, but I will be there in spirit." Ruth felt overwhelmed with joy and gratitude. The love and support from Peter's family and friends made her feel even more excited about their future together. Emotions ran high as the wedding preparations began. Both families were ecstatic, and Amanda was especially thrilled, helping Ruth with every detail. They shopped for dresses, chose flowers, and tested cakes, savoring each moment of the joyous occasion. I can't believe you're getting married, Ruth. Peter is perfect for you. Ruth smiled, squeezing Amanda's hand. I know, I feel so lucky. Weeks later, while shopping for wedding decorations, Ruth received a message from a friend. Ruth, I saw Peter and Amanda at a restaurant. They seemed very close, the message read. Her heart sank as she opened the attached photo. There was Peter, leaning in close to Amanda, their faces mere inches apart. Her heart sank as she stared at the photos on her phone. Her mind raced with thoughts of betrayal and anger. How could Amanda do this to me? After all I did for her, I even gave her my kidney, and she betrayed me to this extent. She felt an uncontrollable rage take hold of her. Without thinking, Ruth stormed to her father's room. She opened his drawer and pulled out his old rusty gun. Her mind was clouded with anger and pain as she drove to Peter's house. She dashed inside Peter's house, her heart pounding in her chest. She went straight to Peter's room, but found it empty. Her desperation grew as she searched every room, her emotions swirling wildly between anger and sorrow. Finally, she reached the guest room and threw the door open. There on the bed were Peter and Amanda, engrossed in a conversation and laughter. They looked up, shocked, as Ruth stood in the doorway, her face a mask of anguish and rage. Her heart sank deeper as the betrayal she felt solidified into a painful reality. Oh my God, Ruth! Amanda shouted, jumping off the bed. It's not what you think. It's not what you think. Ruth's hand shook as she raised the gun, pointing it at both of them. How could you, Amanda? She cried, tears streaming down her face. After everything we've been through, how could you betray me like this? Peter stood up abruptly, his hands raised up. Ruth, please, put the gun down. It's not what you think. Before Peter could finish his statement, Ruth let out a bullet to his arms. No, Amanda shouted. What have you done? Before she could complete her statement, Ruth let out a bullet at her thigh. Her grip on the gun tightened as she descended to the living room, her mind reeling with confusion and despair. Sinking into a chair, she buried her face in her hands, the weight of her emotions pressing down on her. She was so lost in her turmoil that she didn't hear someone approaching until she felt a tap on her shoulder. Startled, she looked up to see Peter standing before her, his face a mask of shock and concern. Ruth, what are you doing with a gun? Peter asked, his voice trembling. Ruth could barely speak. I thought... Peter gently took the gun from her, setting it aside. What did you think, Ruth? Please, talk to me. She looked at him, her mind struggling to piece together what had just happened. I saw you and Amanda in bed. I thought you betrayed me. Peter's eyes widened in realization. No, Ruth, you've got it all wrong. I wasn't even there. I went to the grocery stores to get something for my twin brother. Twin brother? He came back? Oh my God. I shot them, she shouted, dashing past Peter and running into the guest room. What? Peter exclaimed and followed her, their medical training kicking in. In the guest room, they found Paul and Amanda lying unconscious, both bleeding from their wounds. Peter quickly retrieved his medical kit, and Amanda grabbed the necessary supplies to stabilize them. Despite the chaos, their hands moved with practiced precision. Call an ambulance, Peter ordered, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. Ruth, shaking but determined, dialed emergency service and relayed the situation. Within minutes, the ambulance arrived, and Paul and Amanda were rushed to the hospital. Ruth followed in her car, her mind a whirlwind of guilt and confusion. At the hospital, Paul and Amanda were stabilized and moved to the recovery ward. Ruth sat in the waiting room, her heart heavy with regret. Peter, after ensuring that Paul and Amanda were receiving the best care, came to sit beside her. "What happened?" Peter asked gently, his eyes filled with concern. "I received some photos. A friend sent them to me, and I saw Amanda and Paul together. I thought it was you and Amanda. I let my jealousy and fear take over, and I made a terrible mistake." "Oh no, we had planned something special for you. A surprise," Peter said. Ruth's confusion deepened. "A surprise?" He nodded. "Yes, Paul and Amanda wanted to prank you. After I told Paul how amazing Amanda was, he decided to meet up with her. He came back a few days ago. They hit it off right away. We planned to surprise you with a double wedding. Paul and Amanda were going to marry on the same day as us. It was supposed to be a joyful surprise for you, something to celebrate our friendship and love together." Her heart sank as Peter's words washed over her. The realization of her actions hit her like a tidal wave. "You were planning a double wedding?" she whispered, the shame and guilt evident in her voice. Peter nodded. "Yes, Ruth. We wanted to share our happiness in a unique way, but things went horribly wrong." Tears streamed down her face. "I have ruined everything. I let my jealousy and fear take over. I should have trusted you. I should have talked to you instead of jumping to conclusion." "Yes, you should have done that." Hours later, Amanda, now conscious and recovering in her hospital bed. "I am so sorry, Amanda," Ruth cried. "I should have trusted you. I should have talked to you instead of jumping to conclusion." She cried bitterly. Over the next few weeks, Ruth, Peter, and Amanda worked to rebuild their trust and relationships. They attended counseling sessions, both individually and together, to address the underlying issues and ensure that such misunderstanding would not happen again. Their bond, once fractured, began to heal. Ruth apologized to Paul for the confusion and thanked him for his understanding. She also realized the importance of dealing with insecurities and finding healthier ways to cope with her emotions. Months after the dramatic event, the friends were ready to resume their wedding plans. They had spent time healing, rebuilding trust, and strengthening their relationships, now with a renewed determination and excitement. The preparations were a joyful affair. The two couples worked together on every detail, from selecting the venue to choosing the decorations. Their friends and families rallied around them, eager to support the double celebration of love and commitment. Ruth and Amanda looked radiant in their wedding gowns, their smiles lightening up the ceremony. Peter and Paul, dashing in their suits, stood proudly as they awaited their brides. The music swelled, and Ruth and Amanda walked down the aisle, arm in arm, towards their future husbands. The ceremony was filled with heartfelt vows, laughter, and tears of joy. Ruth and Peter and Amanda and Paul exchanged rings and promises, their love shining brightly for all to see. The girls erupted in applause as the couple sealed their vows with a kiss, marking the beginning of their new lives together. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please do. Like and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss out on any of our amazing stories. Bye.